calls me googly eyes.
And you know you're beautiful, right? You know that?
Even you are beautiful. I got bullied for wearing glasses. Share if you're against bullying.
We put it out there, just took off. 3 million people have shared this post. Don't let bullies get you down. I stand with you. Our whole family's wearing glasses. I wear glasses and I'm proud.
I even have the army on my team.
All the kind comments brought my child joy. I don't feel thank you is enough.
Next.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where the ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
I wanted to find a bank with a purpose. I wanted to find a place that would take my money and not use it to cause the financial crisis, but to fix the financial crisis and to help end income inequality.
The people that we employ are usually clients right off the streets. They don't have an account, but Amalgamated is willing to get that started for them.
Their reputation supporting the working man, I think, speaks for itself. This is a bank that cares for their customers, and I appreciate that.
We were able to access a construction loan through the bank's programs, and that loan has helped us house 28 families in the community.
Amalgamated is a bank that was started for and about working people.
Many of our customers have a deep commitment to advocating for social and economic justice. We share that commitment, and we're not afraid to stand up and say that we need to change some of the way that the country does business.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
The most important issue on this planet right now is to protect and conserve biodiversity in the world's oceans. And I don't think people realize just how intimate our connection is with the oceans themselves. Not only do they provide the very foundation of life and control our weather, but life just simply could not exist without a healthy ocean. The real problem, though, is apathy. It's all out of sight. It's all out of mind, and people don't even think about it. But it doesn't matter whether you live in Peoria or on the coast. The fact is, whatever happens in the ocean affects all life forms on the planet Earth. If the oceans die, then civilization collapses. We all die. We cannot live on this planet without the oceans. This is, in fact, not the planet Earth. It's the planet ocean, but because we're a land-dwelling species, we refer to it as Earth. But it is the planet ocean, and the oceans are the heart and the foundation of all life on the planet.
taught him how to hit a baseball.
Just like that. Say hi!
How to hit a receiver. The strike zone. The net. You taught him how to hit the upper corner. You even taught him how to hit the open man. But how much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit?
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where the ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown,
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
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 Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Good morning. It is Friday, April 15th. This is The Bill Press Show. I am not Bill Press. I'm John Allen, sitting in for Bill Press. He's not the only one on staff who's out today. Jamie Benson also not here, and Cyprian Bolding not here. But here's who we do have. We have Peter Ogburn, who not only is the best executive captain producer in the world. What's your title? Is it Supreme Allied Producer?
That's it, yes.
Peter Ogburn, normally
Allied.
in the studio, actually running the board today
Here I am.
for Jamie as well. Ray Rogers screening phone calls like she does in her personal time. And Monty Kanzler outside the door here operating video so that you can see what's going on here in the studio. You can listen to the show on iHeartRadio app, on the iTunes app, using the Progressive Voices channel. You can like us on Facebook, podcasts, Twitter. We're tweeting at BP Show. That's BPSHOW for those who have trouble with the word show. We've got a pretty good lineup today on tax day. We've got...
By the way, I should point out, it's technically not tax day.
Oh, no.
That's right. Today is Emancipation Day here in the District of Columbia, which means that they can't technically make it tax day. Tax day does not happen until Monday.
In the District of Columbia.
No, everywhere.
Everywhere.
No, it's a federal thing that if any particular place has a holiday, they can't make it tax day.
It's traditionally tax day.
I know. You're right. It is traditionally tax day. But because the District of Columbia has Emancipation Day today, that means everybody across America gets a few extra days to do their taxes.
Peter Ogburn on the instant fact check.
How you like that?
That's pretty good.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Now I got to find something else. All right. It's my half birthday. How about that?
There
it's
you
my
go.
half birthday.
Perfect.
It's Amy Parnes' birthday.
Happy birthday to Amy Parnes.
Happy birthday, Amy Parnes. If you don't know, Amy Parnes is the co-author with me of a book on Hillary Clinton a while back. She is not on the show today, but we do have the political editor for the Wall Street Journal, Gene Cummings, coming on. We've got USA Today's Paul Singer, not to be confused with the Republican donor Paul Singer. We've got Carolyn Fidler, Democratic strategist. Daniel Lippman, half of Politico's playbook. The other half of Politico's playbook, other than Mike Allen, who I have no relationship to. I mean, we're not family.
You're not birth related.
We're not birth related. Yeah. No, I have a relationship.
Yeah.
Never mind. This is going to get bad fast. And then we've got, my mentor basically in the business, Greg Giroux of Bloomberg, who is probably going to tell us a lot of interesting things about political demographics and data heading into New York and beyond. Greg's a little bit of a savant when it comes to political demography. But first...
This is the Full Court Press.
Yes, indeed. Just a couple of other stories making news. Let me ask you a question, John. When you go to the movie theaters, where do you stand on texting during movies?
I think you should probably not do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the correct answer. Well, the head of AMC Entertainment, a man by the name of Adam Aron, AMC, of course, owns a lot of movie theaters here in this country. He said that he's not necessarily opposed to setting up movie theaters where texting can be allowed during the movie. He says that, when you're tweeting about things, you're texting with your friends, or, putting things out there about the movie that you're seeing, it sort of helps spread the word and gets people out into the theater, and he's not opposed to it.
I go to the movies to escape.
Yes.
Much like I go to a bottle of Jack Daniels to escape, or perhaps in my younger days, other things to escape.
Sure.
Like, you go to the movies to escape. Just
Get away.
escape.
Yeah.
I mean, look, have it on. I'm a parent. You're a parent.
Yeah.
Babysitter wants to text you and say, hey, there's something wrong.
Yep.
Have it on, look down every once in a while. You shouldn't be in there banging out texts.
That is the correct answer. Yeah, I'm with you. I hate that idea.
I only said it because it was popular.
Yeah, I'm sure everybody wants to text from movies. Speaking of the movies, did you ever see that Deadpool movie? This Deadpool movie?
Which one? Aren't there multiple Deadpools?
The one. There's just one Deadpool movie.
Okay.
But it's setting records. It's set the record.
I thought there was a Clint Eastwood, Charlie Sheen Deadpool movie.
That was the Deadpool.
Different than Deadpool.
Different than Deadpool,
okay.
which is the Marvel character, superhero comic book that they turned into a movie. It's set all kinds of records for an R-rated movie. It made all kinds of money. Well, yesterday they made it official. Star Ryan Reynolds and director Tim Miller will be returning for Deadpool 2. Sort of a no-brainer. since they made so much money off of the first one. No word as to when we will see that movie, but it is confirmed. It is official. They're coming
So
back.
I don't know, and I'm probably the only person in America that doesn't know at this point, but explain to me the superpowers of a character called Deadpool.
Oh, John, I'm glad you asked, because I do still read Deadpool comic book. Deadpool...
I suspected.
Deadpool... Thanks? Deadpool has regenerative powers, so if you cut his arm off, he'll grow an arm back. If you shoot him, his heart will heal and he'll... So he's really, 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 really hard to kill, and he's also like a weapons expert. So he's also...
So it's not like he's walking around and he knows what day like the next pope is going to die.
Right, no, nothing like that.
Because that would be valuable.
That would be great.
Like Biff in Back to the Future when he gets like all the results
that
of
would
the
be
future
great
World
to
Series.
become really, really, really successful.
Yeah.
But then eventually you die.
You can't really fight crime necessarily that
I don't
way.
think you can fight
Not in the
crime.
same way.
It would be great for business, but yeah, as a superpower, I don't know. Yeah. And here's what it sounded like yesterday right here in Washington, D.C.
The kick, the pitch. Swinging a long drive, right field, way back. It is number 100, and it is a grand slam for Bryce Harper. Harper missed first base. He goes back, he retouches, and then he'll touch them all.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like as Bryce Harper hit his 100th career home run, and it was a grand slam, the first one of his career. The Nationals went on to defeat the still winless Atlanta Braves 6-2.
Can you say that again? What is the Braves winless total? Winless.
They have yet to win a game.
0-9?
0-8 now,
8?
I believe.
So
7.
if I do the delegate math right, if
Go
they
ahead.
continue on the same path, they will not be able to, they'll be out of contention by the convention.
Yes, exactly.
That's
Yeah,
like
the Atlanta Braves will not be the nominee. I'm sorry. They looked terrible yesterday. And by the way, the Nationals go to 7-1.
I know. It's because they're playing terrible teams.
They are playing terrible teams.
But they
playing the
get to
baseball,
play
though.
something like 75 games
Like,
against their division.
it would have been perfect for Bryce Harper's 100th home run to be like a solo home run because everybody else got struck out before him. But they actually have hitters who can get on base now.
Yeah,
I think they're better.
I'm not surprised that he hit a grand slam on his 100th home run.
Yeah.
Nor am I surprised that he missed first base.
Right. Two extremely Bryce Harper instances. Yes. It was also his mother's birthday yesterday.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, wasn't that sweet?
She was probably like 35.
Yes, exactly. There you go. That's what I got.
Are we done? We're done with the full court
We're
press now?
done with the full court
All
press.
right. So listen, there was this debate last night.
Huh?
I don't know if you heard about this. I like to call it the Dougal Donnybrook because that was the arena there that they were in Brooklyn, or the Battle of Brooklyn. People have called it maybe hipster skirmish. I'm not sure. Like that's not as alliterative, the hipster skirmish.
I like hipster skirmish.
But I feel like skirmish is a good word for hipsters.
Yeah.
So there's this debate last night, and what I heard from Democratic analysts going in was Bernie Sanders really has to change the game a little bit. Not game change, but change the game. And basically needed some sort of political earthquake to get in a position to beat Hillary Clinton in New York and beat her by enough that he could get on the road to getting more pledged delegates than she did. And I would say most of the reviews that I heard, even the ones that were most positive for him, were not of the variety of this is something where you're going to see a big shift in his favor. In some cases, I heard some people who thought Clinton had a slightly better night. I thought Bernie opened pretty strong against Clinton, particularly on some of the Wall Street stuff, and on the other end of things, on a little bit later on minimum wage, which he would connect in his economic platform. Peter, I believe you've got a little bit to play for us on the minimum wage. Can you do that?
I think the secretary has confused a lot of people. I don't know how you're there for the fight for 15 when you say you want a $12 an hour national minimum wage.
Can I just say how I think it was disgusting that he put on such a New York accent to cater to the New York crowd? I think that it was.
No, what was terrible was when she did it.
Transparent. Yes, exactly. Yes, exactly.
Just kidding. She didn't do it.
No, I know. It's yeah.
No, I think that's a wonderful observation. I mean, look, it is hard to listen to Bernie Sanders and not think this guy is from New York. But I think a lot of people from New York are thinking to themselves, this is not the guy I would elect to the Senate, which is like part of the problem. It's like, oh, it's like Bernie from down on the corner, that guy that keeps railing about whatever, like the activist, just get your sign out of my way. Because New Yorkers aren't nice. I mean, one of the things we've seen with this race is they moved out of the Midwest, they moved out of Wisconsin, and they started throwing haymakers at each other.
Oh, yeah.
And like neither one of them has any compunction about it. I mean,
this was, of all the debates, I think the most in your face, right? They were really going at each other.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, they just dismiss each other, right? Like, this is like, and I thought this was, I think you've got some audio of this too. Like, I thought there was a bad moment for Bernie on gun manufacturers and gun control, if you can hit that.
This is a serious difference between us. And what I want to start by saying, it's not a laughing matter. 90 people on average a day are killed or commit suicide or die in accidents from guns. 33,000 people a year. I take it really seriously because I have spent more time than I care to remember being with people who have lost their loved ones.
And this is like I thought this was a moment where you could see Clinton, and both of them have done this well, learning from past debates. Bernie Sanders chuckles at her when she makes an attack at him.
Yeah,
he kind of dismisses it with a laugh.
He's done that before.
Which some of her supporters read as sexist sometimes, but beyond that, in this case, it looked like she was waiting for that. Like she knew he was going to chuckle at her, and then she's like, "I can make this a very serious point." On the other side, I thought Bernie's getting a lot better at I think at making his attack on Wall Street and on her transcripts from her speeches. I think he's getting a lot better in tone on that. It's both stronger and somehow less angry sounding.
Do we really feel confident about a candidate saying that she's going to bring change in America when she is so dependent on big money interests? I don't think so.
Let's set the same standard for everybody. When everybody does it, okay, I will do it. But let's set and expect the same standard on tax returns.
There's no question who the crowd liked better,
without a doubt.
And I don't know who's got tickets or whether some said it's not like they're panning the crowd so you can tell, but for sure Bernie Sanders was more popular. His crowd was more enthusiastic.
Totally. Yeah, you could tell that right off the bat.
What struck you from the debate last night?
I think that Hillary is now. I mean, this has been the case for a while now, but it's become clearer than ever that she is having a really hard time just putting Bernie away, right? And she's desperate now to figure out. I don't mean that like in a negative way, yeah. But like she's desperate to just get him off of her back. And it's proven to be really, really tough. And I think New York is going to be a lot closer than some of these polls that we've seen. I mean, the 20-point, 15-point blowouts are what a lot of the polls are saying. I think it's probably going to be a little bit closer than that. And I think she knows it.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be 20 points. I think the reason she's been punching him, the first thing came out was the unqualified stuff, right?
Yeah.
She gets asked whether he's qualified, and she dodges the question on Morning Joe.
Yeah.
Then he comes out and goes to a rally and says she's not qualified.
Flat out, yeah.
And then, I think my view of like that whole period right there was she was like, I'm going to hit him in the mouth and see what happens.
Yeah.
Because she came back very aggressively on that. And I thought there was like a little rattle from him, a little wobble, and I think he got back on track pretty quickly.
I do too. Yeah, I do too. And I think that there is, you mentioned this earlier about her sort of waiting for him to say something for her to pounce on. She laid the trap again, talking about super PAC money, right?
Right.
And let him walk down into it, and then sprung the trap and talked about, President Obama and super PACs, and I think won that round. So I think she's gotten a lot better at debating him.
There are some things that are difficult about his argument, which is if you're saying that people are corrupt, if they take super PAC money, you're basically saying every single member of the Democratic Party other than Bernie Sanders is corrupt.
Yeah.
And like that becomes difficult. Like she points to President Obama. She could point to any member of Nancy Pelosi benefits from super PAC money that attempts to elect Democratic houses so that she can be Speaker of the House, right?
Right.
Harry Reid, who I think is no hero to like most liberals, like
nope.
There's like a quasi like embrace sometimes. But he benefits from super PAC money to try to make the Senate Democratic. Chuck Schumer, not always a hero to liberals. Wall Street, Dick Durbin benefits, kind of a hero to liberals.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at all these folks, and they benefit from it. So I think it's a kind of a harder argument. We will be back shortly. Jean Cummings is our first guest. Looking forward to talking to her because the Wall Street Journal, where she's political editor, is doing some great work.
This is the Bill Press Show.
You taught him how to hit a baseball.
Just like that. Say hi!
How to hit a receiver. The strike zone. The net. You taught him how to hit the upper corner. You even taught him how to hit the open man. But how much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit?
Calls me googly eyes.
You know you're beautiful, right? You know that?
Even you are beautiful. I got bullied for wearing glasses. Share if you're against bullying.
We put it out there, just took off. 3 million people have shared this post. Don't let bullies get you down. I stand with you. Our whole family's wearing glasses. I wear glasses and I'm proud.
I even have the army on my team.
All the kind comments brought my child joy. I don't feel thank you is enough.
Next.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
We'd love to hear what you think about last night's Democratic debate, so please give us a call at 1-866-55-PRESS. That's 1-866-557-7377 for those of you who don't have letters on your touch-tone phones. Peter, I want to hear a little bit of the pandering and the consequences of pandering, if we can. John Kasich last night talking about his campaigning in New York City and what you have to do.
I really do believe that the folks in New York will forgive me for that big mistake I made when I had that scalding piece of pizza and actually took a fork and touched the pizza pie with it. But I do know how to eat pizza.
You can't eat pizza with a fork in New York. Apparently.
No. Bill de Blasio tried it. He took heat for it. Other politicians who tried it, they took heat for it. You can't do that.
And the way he said it, like I touched the pizza with the fork was a little
sounded
odd.
like a weirdly, oddly specific kink.
Yeah.
I touched the pizza with my fork. That's all I did.
Or it gets the hose again.
Yeah, or it gets the hose again. Touch the pizza with the fork, or else it gets the hose again.
All right, we have like a minute left before we got to go. I want to, just in a related note, my favorite thing from the past week or so was Ted Cruz trying out matzah at a matzah bakery, I guess, in New York. And Cruz ate the matzah and did something that nobody has ever done when they eat matzah before.
What?
He said, that's good. The whole point of matzah is that you're suffering.
Right.
It's the bread that was made without leavening agents. As the Israelites fled from Egypt, they made the matzah on their backs. And that is, it's served at Seder's to remember the time when the Jews had to flee Pharaoh's land. It was an awful, terrible time. And they spent 40 years wandering in the desert. And Ted Cruz's reaction was, I'll have more of that lovely, lovely bread-like substance. He didn't actually say that. He just said kind of, All right, we got a heart out. We'll be back soon.
This is the Bill Press Show.
The most important issue on this planet right now is to protect and conserve biodiversity in the world's oceans. And I don't think people realize just how intimate our connection is with the oceans themselves. Not only do they provide the very foundation of life and control our weather, but life just simply could not exist without a healthy ocean. The real problem, though, is apathy. It's all out of sight. It's all out of mind, and people don't even think about it. But it doesn't matter whether you live in Peoria or on the coast. The fact is, whatever happens in the ocean affects all life forms on the planet Earth. If the oceans die, then civilization collapses. We all die. We cannot live on this planet without the oceans. This is, in fact, not the planet Earth. It's the planet ocean, but because we're a land-dwelling species, we refer to it as Earth. But it is the planet ocean, and the oceans are the heart and the foundation of all life on the planet.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more? How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
Enough.
Enough. Enough.
Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 This is the Bill Press Show.
I'm John Allen, sitting in for Bill Press. Peter Ogburn in the dunk tank, behind the glass, in the studio, running the board, in addition to being the Supreme Allied Commander of production for the Bill Press Show.
The Jamie Benson commemorative dunk tank.
Commemorative.
Yeah, not memorial.
Not memorial, commemorative.
He's still with us.
He is, just in case Jamie's mom is listening, and she does sometimes.
Nothing that bad has happened.
Wonderful, wonderful lady.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening.
Yeah.
Or watching, because you can also watch. And in fact, if I find the right sheet of paper here, because I don't have this at top of mind, I will be able to tell people how they can watch. And if I can, oh, here we go, live on Free Speech TV and TawkrTV. Free Speech is seen on DirecTV and Dish. And Talker is at youtube.com/TAWKRTV. And one more public service announcement for the moment. Beyond saying hello to Ray Rogers, screening your phone calls, which is a perfect time to make the actual public service announcement, which is, we'd love to hear from you on the debate. You can call us at 1-866-55-PRESS. That's 1-866-557-7377. Lots of sevens.
Lucky number 7.
That's good.
Yeah.
Much better than that film, Lucky Number 11.
Terrible movie.
That was an awful movie.
Horrible
with
movie.
like Josh Hartnett.
Yeah, he was in it. Wasn't Bruce Willis in that?
Yeah, Bruce Willis, I'm not sure he always makes the best choices.
No, he makes some
He's
bad
been in some great films.
Sure.
Die Hard.
Great movie.
Die Hard 3.
Great movie.
Die Hard 4. But better than Die Hard 2.
Correct. That is correct.
Right? I mean...
yeah, it goes 1, 3, 4, 2, right?
I still think Moonlighting was his best work. You don't like Moonlighting?
I don't mean to disrespect. It was a little ahead of my time. That was the show I couldn't watch.
Me too.
When I was a kid, my parents were like, "Okay, you got to go to bed now. Moonlighting is on."
Yeah, no, my parents were like that too. And then finally, my dad was like, "All right,
yeah,
here's the deal." He's like, "You should probably know what Sybil Shepherd looks like."
I finally watched it. And I was just like, "This is so boring. I don't get it." When I was a kid.
If you had known who Curtis Armstrong was when you were a kid, you would have been like, I've got to watch Curtis Armstrong on that because he's the guy in Risky Business who's like, sometimes you just got to say what the, and then you hit the drop thing. And then, and I also believe he's in some John Cusack movies as well. Definitely Revenge of the Nerds.
He's definitely in Revenge of the Nerds.
Like big time. Booger.
Booger, yeah.
Yeah, you could say Booger.
Maybe the best character in Revenge of the Nerds.
Yeah, I think.
Not that there's a deep bench there to pull from.
I don't know. Anthony Edwards is like pretty good in Revenge of the Nerds.
Yeah, he's pretty good. Who was the big guy? The hulking
football
guy?
player.
Yeah, the football player guy.
Ogre.
Ogre. That was it. Ogre. Yeah.
Yeah, but they're like, I think that guy's like well known too. Like,
He
I
is.
think
He's very well known. I'm completely spacing on his name.
But you probably didn't tune in to hear us talk about Revenge of the Nerds. Instead, we'll talk about other movie stars. I want to read this because it seems like it's going to be fun to read. Bernie Sanders last night suspended somebody affiliated with his campaign for some posts on, I believe on Facebook, but definitely on social media somewhere. It was basically like, I can say this, like F you, Bibi, that was like angry at Bibi Netanyahu. And of course, last night during the debate, there was a big debate over Israel. Bernie Sanders has a more open, an open view of how negotiations between the Israelis and the Palestinians can work. Clinton's a little more, has a little more hugged the Israeli position there. So one of Bernie Sanders' people, somebody affiliated with his campaign, had put something up online that was not nice about Bibi Netanyahu. He suspended this person. And the reason that I bring this up is there are some fun things to read about what Bernie Sanders surrogates have said of late that have been have gotten him a little bit in trouble. And Peter's looking at me from behind the glass like, really, dude, you're going to read this stuff?
No, go for it. No.
So Susan Sarandon, whose name I always mispronounce. Did I get it right that time?
You got it.
So she's like one of my favorite actresses of all time. Like dating back to like Rocky Horror Picture Show, though I was not old enough to see it at the time.
Sure.
And Bull Durham.
Can I ask you a question? Are you one of these that goes to the midnight showings of Rocky Horror?
So I did theater in high school.
Is that right?
Yeah. I played baseball and I did theater, which like
double threat.
And everybody made fun of me. Like the theater people were like, "You're a jock," and the jocks were like, they said things that I would not repeat on the air in 2016.
Yes, no,
Probably wouldn't have done it in 1993 either, but definitely not in 2016. And so, so I went with my high school theater group to New York, and one of the things we did while we were up there was go see the Rocky Horror Picture Show in Greenwich Village, like a midnight showing, and everybody's like acting it out in front of the movie screen, and a 500-pound woman in a bikini came and sat on my lap. She was one of the people acting, and it was a traumatic experience in my formative years. I had been seated on the aisle at the time. They basically call you a virgin for a Rocky Horror Picture Show if you go the first time. I don't know if have you been to see?
No, I haven't.
Because they kind of stopped doing that. I mean, it's not a thing.
I don't think it's a thing anymore. But I mean, if you're going to go do it, that seems like the ideal setting to go do it.
So you would go and be a Rocky Horror Picture Show virgin.
I would.
And I was.
You were a virgin.
A Rocky Horror Picture Show virgin as a senior in high school.
Yes.
Definitely a Rocky. Yeah.
Just a Rocky.
You need the qualifier.
You got to make sure that that's clear.
So what they would do is the virgins for the show would sit on the aisle, and then people would screw with them.
Is that right?
Like the people that were acting out the stuff in the theater would. So for people who don't know, you would go see a screening of Rocky Horror Picture Show, and all of these people would get dressed up and come like a Star Wars opening, but instead of just sitting there in their Chewbacca suit, they would actually act out what was going on screen in the middle of the theater. And so the virgins, first time callers, so to speak, would come and sit on the aisles because their friends would put them in the aisles. And the whole deal was the ragtag cast of people acting things out would come and mess with you if you were sitting on the aisle.
That's funny.
I ended up with a 500-pound woman in a bikini like on my thigh. Maybe. At 17.
Yeah.
Maybe it would have been great. Maybe it would have been awesome. It was not. It was a little traumatic. It was a little much for me.
That's a lot.
I mean, whatever. Like, it was a lot.
Yeah.
So after that, I chose not to go back to see the Rocky Horror Picture Show live. Yeah, it kind of killed it for me.
I get that.
Yeah.
I've never done one of those. I've never done the whole
I would do it now. I mean, it's fun. And also, I would no longer be a virgin for the Rocky Horror Picture Show or any other purposes. And I would, be able to sit inside and not be messed with.
There you go. That's
we should get a screening.
I'd go.
The Bill Press Show hosts.
I'd totally go.
The Rocky
Just
Horror
don't put me on the aisle.
Oh no, you would have to go on.
I have to.
Yeah.
Since I'm a Rocky Horror.
But it could be somebody more interesting.
Yeah, good.
They came and was like, I'm going to mess with you. They might not sit on your lap. I mean, they do all kinds of stuff to mess with you.
Let's be clear. If I'm going, I want a 500 woman in a bikini to sit on my lap.
It's kind of cool, actually. Like, now I have a story.
I totally would, yeah, I'd be into that.
Yeah.
For the story.
You just got me to admit something on the air that I thought was going to remain buried.
See, this is
I
what we
actually
do.
liked it. Who knew? So, real quick. Oh, wait. I don't think we're going to have time for that.
You got like a minute and a half here.
I thought it might be fun to do Susan Sarandon's thing that she said that got, one of the things she said that kind of got her in trouble.
We can sprinkle these throughout the show.
In the middle of, connected to something she said in an old movie. So, at home, you can guess which part of this was the difficult one for her during the Sanders campaign as a surrogate. I believe in the Church of Baseball. I don't vote with my vagina. Which part of that was the one that got her in trouble, Peter?
Frankly.
And which part was the Bull Durham quote?
Right, yes, exactly. Both of those are a little out of place. But I would think that the voting with vagina got her in trouble. Is that correct?
Yes.
Was that correct? What do I win?
It would also get you in trouble at the ballot box, at the booth, you know, I think. Although there's a curtain, maybe you could. We will be back soon. I am John Allen, sitting in for Bill Press, your awesome host, who will be back someday soon. I think Monday.
Yeah.
All right.
Streaming live video right now at youtube.com/TawkrTV. That's TAWKR-TV. This is The Bill Press Show.
You taught him how to hit a baseball.
Just like that. Say hi.
How to hit a receiver. The strike zone. The net. You taught him how to hit the upper corner. You even taught him how to hit the open man. But how much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit?
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
This is the Bill Press Show.
And I'm still John Allen, sitting in for Bill Press. We are lucky to have with us the political editor for the Wall Street Journal, Gene Cummings, my former editor at one point. Gene, how are you this morning?
Doing good. How are you, John?
I'm doing great. Thanks for joining us early on this Friday.
Super early.
I was speaking with you recently and telling you that I thought your team has done at the Wall Street Journal just an incredible job on how the delegate selection process works, and has been sort of raising flags and sounding alarms for people that this might actually be an interesting process this year. Can you give me a sense of where you think the race is right now on the Republican side in terms of the likelihood of Donald Trump getting to the 1,237 he needs to win the nomination outright?
Right. Well, I think that he still has he has a plausible path to get there. But I think the odds are shrinking against him. If he gets close, I think he can maybe deal with some of the unbound delegates and maybe get there. But the odds of him getting that number are shrinking because Cruz has done a good job of sounding the alarm and moving in and exploiting the rules in a way that benefits his campaign. And then John Kasich sits there as yet another check on the rise of Trump.
Before you were an editor, you were one of the best reporters in Washington. What's your reporting? What are you hearing in terms of the Ted Cruz effort to make the Republican establishment comfortable enough with him to get behind him on a second or subsequent ballots?
Well, I think that and thank you for the compliment. Not sure I earned it, but thank you.
You definitely earned it.
But I think with Ted Cruz, what he represents is at least he stays within the orthodoxy of the party. He's not their first choice by a long shot. That would have been Jeb, that might have been Marco, it would have been a lot of other people. And Kasich remains a more expected pick. But what Cruz does when it comes to some big issues, which is the role of government and entitlements and trade, he is a little closer to what has been Republican orthodoxy for the last 2 decades. Trump is a complete deviation from it. He wants to not renew or reform entitlements, which Republicans have talked about for the last 10 years, that they want to privatize Social Security and Medicare, etc. Trump says, no, I'm not going there. I'm not going to do it. On trade deals, he opposes them, or he's going to make a better deal, which is more nativist. So there are many ways in which Trump would completely redefine the policy and orthodoxy of the party itself. Cruz doesn't take the party that far, and that is why if establishment Republicans are looking for the default candidate, it's based on their core beliefs, and that's why they go towards Cruz.
If you take a look at the Democratic side right now, the debate last night was, to my ears, and I think to a lot of other ears, the fiercest so far. These guys, or not guys, the Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton are really dropping the gloves and throwing punches at each other. What is the outcome of that, do you think, for the Democratic Party? Is this a situation where the Democrats are going to be able to rally around their candidate, or are they going to have a problem heading into their convention?
Well, so much depends on what Bernie Sanders the role he wants to play. I agree with you. That was a very caustic, in-your-face kind of debate last night. At the same time, I don't think Bernie Sanders brought enough new material to the table to change the conversation. He attacked her on things we've heard him attacking her on since he got into the race. So I don't know that he brought new converts. Maybe his feisty style might have brought some new and might have pushed off others. But at any rate, the conversation didn't change. So she remains on the same trajectory, which is to win the nomination. And she brought up last night her speech in 2008 in support of Barack Obama was political history. It was extraordinary. It was very personal, a very personal appeal to her backers to go ahead and rally around the guy who had beaten her in another really close, really, bitter delegate by delegate fight for the nomination. She did that for Barack Obama. I think that in the end, if it comes to that, Bernie Sanders will endorse her, but I don't know if he will be magnanimous. I don't know, we have heard in our reporting that he doesn't want to play the role of spoiler, but, feelings get hurt and, things happen, and we'll see if he actually comes through.
There are degrees in that, right? The Hillary Clinton's very good, as you point out, or was very good. I think probably her most genuine moment, or the thing that was at least perceived as most genuine in 2008, was that speech endorsing Obama. We got to go pretty quickly here, Gene, but one last question for you back on the Republican side. What's your feeling on Trump? Is he going to get a sweep here in New York, or might there be a surprise?
I feel like the Kasich and Cruz will pick off here and there, but I think that in the end, Trump is going to have a very good night. Big
night for Donald Trump in his hometown. Saw the New York Post endorsing him this morning.
I think so.
Not terribly surprising, I guess.
Yeah.
Wall Street Journal, a little bit different of a paper than the New York Post. Thank you so much, Gene Cummings, for joining us. Hope to see you soon.
Okay.
Take care. And we will be back here soon at the Bill Press Show. I am John Allen, sitting in for the eponymous Bill Press of the Bill Press Show.
Streaming live video right now at youtube.com/TawkrTV. That's TAWKR TV. This is the Bill Press Show.
For my 6th birthday, my grandpa gave me a Rubik's Cube. I'll always be able to remember its edges, hold it in my hands, heft the weight of an overwhelming problem. I remember him telling me about it. How Rubik's Cube has 43 quintillion, 252 quadrillion, 3 trillion, 274 billion, 489,856,000 possibilities. He told me it can be really confusing sometimes. But to look at the center squares as a reminder of what color each side should be. Shift. We're celebrating his 50th wedding anniversary. He and Grandma are dancing a dance that only fragile legs and wrinkled hands know how to. That type of happiness took him 70 years to earn. The white side of the cube is solved. Shift. He tells me about how he met Grandma. His college friends had a sunset picnic. She was there, as beautiful as an unsolved puzzle. She was a red-headed scramble on an orange tile sky. Shift. The walls of the hospital are blue. The nurses explained that his memories had become jumbled. Strangers in family portraits, pictures with mismatched faces. Alzheimer's has made his mind into a Rubik's Cube. Shift. He's a highway patrolman. His car is white. No, it's blue. He worked there for 30 years. Some nights he still does. Time is a complicated algorithm. Shift. The pills he holds are yellow and red and green. The weight of their color causes his hand to drop. I try to shift his tiles back into place, but people don't have center squares. His mind is a hospital bed divided by 0. Shift, my sister's wedding is white, but he doesn't know why. Shift, World War II is every color. The South Pacific is blue. The islands are green. There is so much red. Shift, grandpa, table, cube, name, scramble, California, guitar, grapefruit, highway, wedding bell, war, stick shift rifles, South Pacific mirrors, shift, 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 shift. The temperature of his hands is blue. Death is colorless. I will always remember his edges. Hold him in my hands, heft the weight of an overwhelming problem. I was unable to attend his funeral. I never found out the algorithm to solve him. A Rubik's Cube has over 43 quintillion possibilities. A casket only has one.
Help.
This is the Bill Press Show.
And I'm still not Bill Press. Sitting in for Bill Press, I'm John Allen. We've got a caller on the line who has an observation about the debate. Anita from San Antonio. What do you think?
Hey, good morning. Yeah, I thought that Hillary Clinton encapsulated her argument against Bernie Sanders last night when she stated that he can diagnose the problem, but he really doesn't have any plan to fix it. And she repeated that, and I thought that was very important.
I agree with you. I think that's probably her strongest argument against Sanders is, as an overall thing, is that he's not, he hasn't put together a plan that's realistic for solving some of the problems that he identifies. So thank you so much for that thought, Anita. I appreciate you giving us a call. Anybody else wants to call in, they should do that. It's 1-866 55
Press.
55 Press. Call in. Tell us what you thought about last night's debate. Heckle some of our guests if you want. But whatever you do, dial us up. Come participate in the conversation on the Bill Press Show. I am John Allen, sitting in for Bill Press this Friday. We'll be right back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
You taught him how to hit a baseball.
Just like that. Say hi.
How to hit a receiver. The strike zone. The net. You taught him how to hit the upper corner. You even taught him how to hit the open man. But how much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit?
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine.
Virginia Tech.
Tucson.
Aurora.
Fort Hood. Oak Creek. Newtown.
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 How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough. Enough. Enough.
Enough.
Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday, it's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 broadcasting around the nation on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
I'm John Allen, sitting in for Bill Press. We have an awesome show for you today. Hopefully you've been listening to the last hour or watching on one of the many outlets live on Free Speech TV and TawkrTV. Free Speech can be seen on DirecTV and Dish. You may already know that because you're watching it on one of those things. Talker is youtube.com/TawkrTV. That's TAWKR TV. We're tweeting at BP Show. That's BPSHOW. You can call in to harass our guests or offer your thoughts on last night's debate at 1-866-55-PRESS. That's 1-866-557-7377. If you make one of those phone calls, you will have the great privilege of speaking with Ray Rogers, who may screen your phone calls, like Gwen Stefani. Anybody? Do you have the music? You don't have that queued up?
I don't. I'm sorry.
That's all right. So what are you? You're busy walking in the spider web? I'll leave a message. That laughter you hear is from Peter Ogburn, the Supreme Allied Commander of the Dunk Tank, also executive producer here on the Bill Press Show.
Hello, John.
Hi.
I feel compelled to point out, because we normally, here in the Dunk Tank, we have what's called Jamie Cam, which is this camera here that I'm pointing to, that gets Jamie Benson.
I think your finger just got really big in somebody's face.
Yeah.
As if you were one of the
Talk to the
debaters wagging a finger.
Yes. I just have to point out Monty Chancellor, who's running the video, had to come in and say, you know what, we actually have that set to Jamie height, so we're going to need to raise
elevate
it.
It.
Yeah,
you're Napoleoning him while he's not here.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm doing. I think I'm doing that.
Jamie's mom, if you're listening, time to call in. Last time you called in because you were upset, you felt like I was kind of pushing Jamie around a little bit. Not physically, not actually physically. Now it's Peter.
That's okay. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, Jamie's just short. He's what, 5'1", 5'2"? What is Jamie? I don't know. If that, right?
You know, my prom date was like 4'11".
Is that right?
And I'm like, I mean, at the
You're a
time
tall
I was
guy.
like 6'1". I grew a little bit since then. I'm like 6'3". It was like the pictures were, odd.
That's terrifying.
I mean, not terrifying, not like a crazy clown.
Right. That's a visual. That's all.
She was a wonderful girl who's like 4'11".
Yeah.
But so we've had a mention of Jamie Benson not here and of Monty Chancellor, so I don't have to re-mention Monty, but I will anyway. Hi, Monty. We have Paul Singer in studio with us from USA Today. He's got cool insights and observations and a soapbox to get on. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Yes, indeed. Just a couple of other stories making news. We will start at the sports desk, where yesterday the Tennessee Titans and the Los Angeles Rams had a big trade in the NFL. All right, here are the details.
Did they trade futures?
Well, the Titans had the first pick in the 2016 NFL Draft, and they traded it to the Rams. They gave away the first pick, the 113th pick, and the 177th pick in the 2016 Draft in exchange for the 15th, 43rd, 45th, and 76th draft, as well as a couple of first and third round picks in 2007.
The Rams also get Los Angeles in that trade, by the way.
They also get Los Angeles. That's a very good point. It's a weird trade. I'm not
Does
sure
that seem feels like the NFL engineered it? Maybe like.
I don't disagree with that. I saw that. It was a very odd.
Since the Rams are getting the number one pick,
right?
Yeah.
Right, I feel like that's like.
Yeah.
The fix is in. It's like, wasn't there like some story recently about how the NFL was like going around trying to get somebody to like take Michael Sam?
Yeah.
Did I read that somewhere?
Yeah, you did.
So, like, I don't know. I mean, maybe there's like some fishy stuff going on with the NFL every once in a while.
No. The hell you say?
Yes. Seriously, I hope I'm near a fainting couch. That's,
Exactly.
My goodness.
So, Peter, there must be more.
Well, that's that story. Also in the news, yesterday, James Cameron announced that he is bringing out a sequel to the movie Avatar. Not only is he going to be making a sequel, he's making 4 sequels. He outlined a whole release schedule for Have you seen the Avatar movie? It's a very big movie.
Yeah, I've seen it.
It's fine.
It's a movie,
It's like 6 hours long. If he makes 4 of them, it's like 3 days worth of movies,
Yeah, you
right?
have to commit yourself to
Yeah, okay.
It's a lot, and it's a lot, right? Like, I mean, I wouldn't like announce 6 books.
Here's the deal. Christmas release schedule for Avatar 2, Christmas 2018. Avatar 3 in 2020 on Christmas. Avatar 4, Christmas 2022. Avatar 5, Christmas 2023. He says each one of these stands alone, but together will form a complete saga.
Are we even sure there will be Christmas in 2023? I mean, like, that is more prior planning than I can do in my life.
That's so far ahead.
He's basically shorting climate change.
Yeah, right. Yeah, totally. Exactly.
Who wanted this, though? Who wanted that? Like, is there really a need for that many Avatar sequels?
You know what? If you have that many avatars, most of them are probably eggs.
Excellent point.
Yeah. Like,
Excellent point.
yeah.
They're all going to be like, can you imagine the egg war in Avatar 5?
Brutal. I feel like Hunger Games, like real people, like I could see planning that out, or Fast and the Furious 83, or Rocky 6000.
The senior citizen Fast and Furious.
Exactly, when they're really old and they're just like, I'm not.
They're stealing wheelchairs.
Yeah, it'd be bad.
They're driving Winnebagos.
Yeah.
All right,
big black sedans in like South Florida. They're like getting to lunch by 4 o'clock. I mean, dinner by 4 o'clock.
That's their goal. They have to drive their Cadillacs to lunch by 3:30. All right, so
before we get ageist,
if you've flown with children, you know that it can be sometimes a little bit of a scramble to make sure that you actually sit with your kids. More and more airlines are making you select your seats and also paying for seat selection, right? Like, so if there's an open seat here and an open seat there, you may sometimes find yourself having to talk to someone so you don't have to sit separate from your children. That will not.
What if you want to sit separate from your children?
That is a totally separate issue.
If I want to sit separate from your children,
That is a totally separate issue. But that should not be an issue if this legislature from Senator Michael Bennet, Democrat from Colorado, gets his way. He put this legislation out that says that children must be allowed to sit with their parents on flights. It's an FAA bill. He says, quote, parents shouldn't have to pay extra to sit with their children on any flight. Separating them is not safe and leaves them at the mercy of the other passenger. I've had this happen to me, actually, once or twice, where, like, we had to go to the gate and say, like, I'm not going to pay $35 just to have my child sit.
The mercy of the other passengers.
Which is terrifying.
I know, but, like, at the same time, like, I don't know. Like, whether you're a child or an adult, like, usually, like, the other passengers should largely leave you alone.
Yeah.
I sent a note to somebody that I know in Michael Bennett's office after I saw this bill coming out, and I said, this seems like it was born of personal experience.
Feels that way.
Because Michael Bennett has, school-age children.
Yeah.
And I did not receive a response from the person that I sent that to.
But isn't this like the definition of nanny state, right? Aren't we literally now in the nanny state?
I mean,
literally being
like, of all the things that I would be outraged about, that would be a pretty small
Right,
one.
the child sitting on the airplane.
Especially because I have little kids, and so from my personal standpoint, it would be nice to be able to sit next to them. We usually get like 4, and we'll have like my wife and the 2 kids and 3 of them, and then me across the aisle, or vice versa. Yeah. And then most recently, we piggybacked 2 and 2. Which was awesome, so one kid can like slam the other on the head from behind.
See, I think they should just have a breeders section of the airplane, and all you people with children should have to sit back there, in a cage, and the rest of us can sit like adults and read books.
Breeders, as though it was intentional.
Yeah.
One time I had a long flight, and we had our child was he was probably like 8 months at the time. I was just infuriated about being on an airplane. It was just mad and crying. We were those people, the people with the crying baby.
Yeah.
And this
Paul hates you.
I know. And by the way, I hate me.
Right,
when I'm that guy.
It's good.
To be fair. So there was a very, very sweet older couple across the way, and she just says, "Can I just put your baby for a little while?" I said, "Sure." She took him. He shut up for the rest of the trip, and he just laid there on her chest for the whole ride. So
she doped your kid.
Yeah, and you know what? Frankly, I'm okay with that. It was a nice flight. We didn't have to deal with it. There was no more crying. It was great.
Yeah, Peter makes for his children. Peter makes peanut butter and weed sandwiches.
I swear, medical for somebody.
Very, very chill flights, man. I love it.
So, Paul Singer, you didn't want to just talk about children flying, breeders, or peanut butter and weed sandwiches.
No.
Which probably taste terrible.
Yeah, before 8 o'clock in the morning? No.
Definitely not. But you do want to talk about this awesome, I hope, this awesome data that you have at USA Today that you wrote about.
Indeed.
Tell us a little bit about social media intensity that you've measured.
Okay, so we goof around. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about my favorite new toy. We goof around with all the social media data because people are all like, oh, social media is taking over politics. What does it all mean? And we have a bunch of data from Facebook, and we've been tracking Facebook conversation about all the candidates throughout this season on what we call the Facebook Barometer, which you can find on our website. But it just tracks the up and down of how much sort of conversation about the candidates. The thing we built yesterday allows you to slice and dice it by intensity. That is, the number of Facebook posts about each candidate per person who is posting. So if you post once, about, oh, Bernie Sanders is a great guy, that would be 1. But if you post 5 times this week about Bernie Sanders, it would be a 5. And we can now compare the intensity of all these candidates over millions of Facebook posts over the entire life of this campaign season. And you see that basically, the most intensity is about Donald Trump. That's like he gets 4.5 and sometimes as high as 5 posts per week from each individual on Facebook about him, whereas John Kasich is in the 2.5 range.
This is of the people who are posting about them at all.
Is of the people who are talking about them on Facebook, either posting, liking, clicking, commenting, sharing about them, not from their Facebook page, but about them in general. So, I mean, in Donald Trump's case, it's something like 50 million interactions a week.
It's unbelievable.
Now, we don't make any effort to try and decide how many of those are positive, how many that are negative. There's no sentiment analysis here.
So he's the leader.
He's the leader.
Tell me about Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton.
Neck and neck. And interestingly enough, have been neck and neck basically since last October. There was a period when Bernie Sanders last summer was having more intensity on Facebook. There was a period when Hillary Clinton was having more intensity. And around October or November, they sort of caught up to each other, and they've been neck and neck throughout. So again, but you do see in all cases, and so this is why we think it's telling us something, in all cases we have seen intensity on Facebook trending upward since January. So the total number of...
People are getting into the election.
People are getting into the election. Or this much we know. People are getting into the election. They're talking an awful lot about Clinton. They're talking an awful lot about Sanders. They're talking an awful lot about Trump. The question is, does that tell us anything about how they vote? And everybody wants to draw these conclusions. Like, oh, well, it must be X number of clicks links to so many votes. No, it's all nonsense. We don't know. But it's fascinating nonsense, and it's fun to play with. Go to our website, play with the thing, Facebook intensity, see what you find, complain about it, whatever. It's interesting.
I looked at it, and I think it's kind of fun to play with. I also am sort of suspicious of the degree to which it's helpful in determining, exactly who's going to win.
Yeah. Well, but I get
because I see in my Twitter feed, like, there will be people that are like writing all day, and like half the things will say Bernie Sanders and they're positive, and then half the things will say Hillary Clinton and they're negative, and that person's like accounting for both sides of that, right?
Correct.
Because they're mentioning Clinton and they're mentioning Sanders.
Correct. And I will say that I know a smart guy who looked at this thing for me last night and said, what you really want is Facebook now has those funny little emojis that you're allowed to like things with, so you can like it with a frowny face. He said that is self-selected sentiment analysis. What you need to do is get Facebook to give you that data. Like how many people frowny-faced on your post instead of smiley-faced on your post. And that would be an interesting, telling sort of indicator of where people lean. I'm just afraid of the day when I have to write the headline that says Trump gets more frowny faces. Right?
Fortunately, it'll just be an emoji.
Right, exactly. We've gone around the bend.
Differently.
It's totally true.
All right, so you were working last night, and actually into the wee hours.
Yes, I was.
Beyond midnight.
Yes, not enough coffee in this
on
mug.
the debate.
Yes,
coverage of the debate. You have a particularly interesting take that is not one that I hear a lot. So
my soapbox?
Yeah, what's your soapbox moment from last night?
My soapbox moment from last night is the same as my soapbox moment from the prior night and the same as the soapbox moment from the prior night before that, which is that the debate starts, the debate talks about some political topic, the debate starts about some economic topic and carries on for about 20 minutes, and then the white moderator turns to the African American or the Latino moderator and says, here, go ask a black question. Go ask a Latino question. And sure enough, the African-American reporter asked the question about something race-related. And lo and behold, last night, of course, Hillary Clinton got around to the answer of, white people need to deal with structural racism. And my question is, when do we start dealing with the structural racism in the debates, where basically the white moderators handle what they consider the front page news questions for 20 minutes and then hand off a minority interest question to a minority reporter? We don't need to segregate the questions, and we don't need to relegate the minority reporters to asking minority questions.
It's almost like a Saturday Night Live episode waiting to happen, like a sketch.
Absolutely.
Where you could see like the producers plotting out and going like, well, our white anchor can't ask that question credibly, and we need to bring in our anchor of color, so let's figure out how to make it all about that.
Yeah, and you want to say,
it's very noticeable.
We'd like to make this debate about some China policy. Okay, somebody go find a Chinese reporter. It's just like that kind of mentality. Now, I will say, in fairness, none of this is criticism of Errol Lewis, who was the reporter last night, who did a great job and did a great job asking climate change questions and really,
all kinds of questions.
All kinds of questions.
But why does he lead with the question that's about?
And why do they sort of set it up so we don't hear from him until there's a question about race?
Don't you think? I almost feel like if they did it the other way, that there would also be some. There would be people who would be criticizing on that end too. If they were like,
maybe,
why is Dan Abash asking the question about race relations instead of the African American?
Maybe, but I'd love to see him try it and take the criticism.
Yeah,
right? I'd love to hear them
you.
answer. In fact, for that matter, I'd love for that to be the first question. Have Wolf ask the question. Ask the race question at the top of the issue. It's one of those things. Every time I see it, my little light goes off, and I tweet something like, they did it again.
Right. I got to turn your light off right now.
Thanks.
We're going to go to break. We will be right back on the Bill Press Show. I am John Allen, sitting in for Bill Press.
This is the Bill Press Show.
You taught him how to hit a baseball.
Just like that. Say hi!
How to hit a receiver. The strike zone. The net. You taught him how to hit the upper corner. You even taught him how to hit the open man. But how much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit?
Calls me googly eyes.
You know you're beautiful, right? You know that?
Even you are beautiful. I got bullied for wearing glasses. Share if you're against bullying.
We put it out there, just took off. 3 million people have shared this post. Don't let bullies get you down. I stand with you. The whole family's wearing glasses. I wear glasses and I'm proud.
I even have the army on my team.
All the kind comments brought my child joy. I don't feel thank you is enough.
Thanks.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
This is the Bill Press Show.
And we are not doing any drugs or alcohol in this studio today. But I won't make a promise about any other day. John Allen sitting in for Bill Press. Paul Singer here from USA Today. Paul, last night's debate, what stood out to you? Was there a magic moment?
I don't know, magic. I was really interested in the Garland moment where Bernie Sanders said that he would ask Barack Obama to withdraw the nomination of Merrick Garland for the Supreme Court so that he could name somebody who was going to be more religiously in favor of changing the Citizens United campaign law. I thought that was... It's interesting. Hillary Clinton, of course, was a little bit more on wheels as usual. Hard to nail down exactly what her position was, but his position sort of directly undercuts where Barack Obama and the Democrats are now.
And right after she had said, "I'm not going to undermine the president's position."
Exactly, and of course Hillary Clinton didn't say, "I agree with the president's position." She said, "I'm not going to undermine it," and then he basically undermined it. I thought that was an interesting moment that might come back to haunt Bernie a little bit.
She telegraphed the same thing, which is that she might do that at some point by saying, "I'm not going to undermine it." She's leaving open to the door that that's what she would do if given the opportunity.
Right, and she said, "I'm not going to address the hypothetical." But he really went right at it, and I think, particularly for the Democrats who are wandering around the building in the Capitol now, hounding the Republicans, vote on this nominee, vote on this nominee. They can now say, even Bernie Sanders doesn't want this nominee.
Well, that was your big moment from the debate. Thank you for the Facebook Intensity update.
Thanks for playing
People should check you out at usatoday.com. Paul Singer. We'll be right back on the Bill Press Show.
This is the Bill Press Show.
The most important issue on this planet right now is to protect and conserve biodiversity in the world's oceans. And I don't think people realize just how intimate our connection is with the oceans themselves. Not only do they provide the very foundation of life and control our weather, but life just simply could not exist without a healthy ocean. The real problem, though, is apathy. It's all out of sight. It's all out of mind, and people don't even think about it. But it doesn't matter whether you live in Peoria or on the coast. The fact is, whatever happens in the ocean affects all life forms on the planet Earth. If the oceans die, then civilization collapses. We all die. We cannot live on this planet without the oceans. This is, in fact, not the planet Earth. It's the planet ocean, but because we're a land-dwelling species, we refer to it as Earth. But it is the planet ocean, and the oceans are the heart and the foundation of all life on the planet.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine.
Virginia Tech.
Tucson.
Aurora.
Fort Hood.
Oak Creek.
Newtown.
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 How many more? How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
Enough. Enough.
Enough.
Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being. For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday, it's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 Streaming live video right now at youtube.com/TawkrTV. That's TAWKR-TV. This is The Bill Press Show.
I'm John Allen, sitting in for Bill Press. I've got a big fried chicken sandwich with pickles and Peking sauce from the Shake Shack. Peter, this is a heck of a delivery in the middle of the 7:30 in the morning. And by the way, I've eaten a couple bites.
The last time you were here, the time before last, we had Shake Shack in to debut their chicken sandwiches, and we've also had Makedo here on the show.
I was not there for that.
You weren't here for the Makedo, so they send us some very nice chicken sandwiches with the Makedo hoisin, and we're big fans of both places.
So basically, if you like
unexpected
food,
breakfast
you should
delivery.
work in radio.
Yeah, it's not a bad gig.
Yeah, it's not. So, like, I brought in donuts this morning.
Yeah.
So that Ray would not be sent on a donut excursion.
I just want to be clear. I have already had a donut, and I will also eat a chicken sandwich today. So I'm.
Don't fat shame yourself,
Let's
right?
move.
Like there's no.
Let's move.
Yeah, it's not.
The
You
words
should
of Michelle Obama. Let's move.
No, let's not move. Seriously, are you
I'm
kidding
about to eat a
me?
chicken-
Are you kidding me? Like
about
I
to
need a
eat a
lecture.
donut
I
and a
need a
chicken
lecture
sandwich.
from
Of
somebody
course
in
I'm not
that
gonna
in that incredible shape.
Of course I'm not gonna
like
move.
genetics and like motivation and like yes, you're better than me, Michelle Obama, like 100 million times better than I'll ever be, and we gotta. No, it's good for the kids. It's good for the kids.
It is good for the kids.
But I'm like, come on, Michelle, you're like hurting my feelings. You're making me feel bad about. Maybe that's the point. All right, so and I shouldn't say Michelle. I should say First Lady.
First Lady Obama.
Madam First Lady. Yes, I don't mean to be disrespectful. We have with us in studio Carolyn Fiddler from the DLCC, working on Democrats in the states. Right? Is that the best way to put it?
Yes, we're like the D trip, but for state legislatures.
But for state legislatures. So I want to talk a little bit about the debate with you. I don't know if Peter has a but first quite yet. Maybe later we'll do a but first. And when I say that, I mean the full court press.
Next
I'm sorry,
hour.
next hour. I'm just all right. Sorry. I didn't want to like lose the thing that you love to do.
Look, I live to serve. I'll be around.
Really?
No, of course not. Of course not.
Says the Supreme Allied Commander of the Dunk Tank.
Right. Right. The Jamie Benson commemorative
See,
dunk.
if you look behind you, Carolyn, you can see he's kind of like, if we had like a little arm with like a dartboard target, he could be like kind of in
That's true.
Yeah, right?
That's true. That works.
Maybe.
Visually.
Visually. So let's talk about the debate last night. What stood out to you, this debate compared to others? What made this debate different than any other night?
Well, the tone was a little sharper, I think, on both sides. And I always pay particular attention when candidates mention issues peculiar to states, because even outside of what I do for a living, I love state politics. So yeah, there were a couple of comments to that effect last night.
Which state are you from?
I'm from Virginia originally.
Oh, wow. House of
Yes.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Not like a House of Burgesses, or you're not even from a state, you're from a Commonwealth.
Correct. Very important.
Yeah. So you got Governor McAuliffe there.
Yep.
And I can't remember, the Democrats have taken back one of the chambers in Virginia, or no?
Very close.
Very
We're
close.
one down in the state Senate.
Okay. But that is not something like the Republicans had basically taken over everything for a while. Am I?
For a while.
Yeah. So when you hear, like, particularly Senator Sanders was talking about the crime bill and mass incarceration in relation to the states, and talking about getting governors to sign on to releasing prison populations, because the question was posed to him: if you want to release 500,000 people from prison, you can't do that at the federal level because there aren't that many federal prisoners.
Yeah.
Right. Because math. And so he was asked, so what are you going to do to get people who are not in federal prison but in state prisons released? And his answer was, I'm going to work with the governors. I'm curious what your perspective is on how that would work with governors. Is that something that all governors would jump onto, or maybe Democratic governors, or maybe certain Democratic governors in liberal states, or maybe some conservative Republican governors? Like, what's the mood in the states on prison reform?
It's actually a mixed bag in the states. It's as bipartisan as anything in the states at this point. States being pretty solidly polarized at this point. But in terms of the practicality of releasing that many prisoners by, quote, working with the states, it's like, just what does that mean exactly? Like, in certain states, it's going to involve the governor. In other states, it'll involve the legislature taking action. And as we know, just because something is a good idea on the federal level, take like Medicaid expansion, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to flow all the way into all the states.
Because there are governors who took the opportunity to deny their citizens the Medicaid exemption expansion under Obamacare.
Or state legislatures. Again, it varies from state to state. Some governors were able to do it by executive order and executive action. Others, like, say, Virginia, Terry McAuliffe would do that if he could, but he has been specifically hamstrung.
It's a reminder that if a party controls a state government, they want things done in the states. If they control the federal government, they want things done at the federal level.
That's a really good point.
And there's, like, obviously, Republicans have been talking for a long time about states' rights, which was originally sort of a code for keep segregation in place.
Right.
But there are times when Democrats now will say they would like to see something devolve to the states, and it's usually when the Republicans control the federal government, and they would like to see some progress on their issues at some level. I kind of look at on the other side of things. Not just whether you're releasing prisoners or you're talking about Medicaid expansion. Speaker Paul Ryan wants to block grant federal programs to the states. You don't like that?
I think it's a cop out by the federal government. I think it's short-sighted. I think it doesn't take into account the many different realities in each of all 50 states. It's not an effective way to enact federal policy.
So on a campaign level, Republicans have been very successful in state legislatures over the course of the last 6, 8, 10 years.
Correct.
Big sweeps at a time when Democrats won the presidency. There was a Democratic House and Senate for some of the last 6, 8, 10 years. Republicans have been crushing it on the state level. Why has that been, and what's the plan for Democrats to capture back some of those state legislative bodies?
Well, to step back historically a little bit, Democrats actually were doing really well towards the end of the last decade, 2006, 2008. Democrats on the state legislative level were incredibly successful. Going into the 2010 elections, in fact, Democrats controlled 60 of the 98 partisan legislative chambers. And then 2010 happened. And 2010 was the luckiest thing that could have ever happened to Republicans basically in the history of politics, in my opinion. It was a massive Republican wave year at every level of the ballot, including state legislatures. And 2010 happened to be the last election in the states before redistricting.
Mm-hmm.
And when Republicans controlled most of the states' governments, and so many states de-redistricting through their state legislatures, they were able to lock in those majorities, not just in Congress, which we saw in 2012 when Democrats got more votes for members of Congress nationwide, but didn't take a majority. They were able to redraw their own districts in many of the states and lock in power that way. So that's the backdrop. And in terms of moving forward, Democrats are doing well, not just in terms of the shifts of within districts, but in terms of court battles. Democrats have had a lot of successes in overturning these terrible gerrymanders that Republicans have put into place since 2010. Alabama, Virginia, North Carolina, Florida, a lot of cases that have led to redrawing of districts on various levels. But also, in 2016 especially, Democrats are playing offense in so many places. And if 2012 is any indication, the first election after redistricting, Democrats still picked up 8 chambers that year. This year, we'll pick up more. So we're actually very excited.
You're bullish.
You're
very
feeling
good.
much so, actually.
Hands in the air, bullish, like excited. All right. I heard a story that you were here. Can I tell this story on the air, Peter?
Sure.
Has it been told on the air before?
It has. It happened on air.
So you were here when Bill arrived with like a vial full of weed. What was the?
I have to explain. I have to give the setup. I have to give the setup because it's not like he just rolls around heavy with weed all the time. Bill went to Eureka for a book signing where we have
Which is the greatest name, by the way, of any city ever.
Humboldt County, man. They got the best weed in America, apparently. And so Bill
have you
went out.
sampled?
Yeah.
And you would say this is true or
It's
just
terrific.
a rumor?
No, it's really good.
Okay.
And so Bill goes out there and he's doing a book signing, and one of our great listeners comes up and just says, "Hey, Bill, I have this for you and your staff," and just hands him a little bottle of Humboldt County's finest weed. And
I think that's a Mark Twain book.
yeah, we've all read that.
Humboldt County's finest
weed. Yes, indeed. And so Bill takes it and puts it in his jacket pocket and then goes to the airport and flies back to D.C. just with it in his pocket the whole time. Nobody bothers to say anything.
Usually people spend a lot of time figuring out how to do that safely.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly. So we're all in the studio.
I mean, not all
there.
people.
Not all people.
Just people who are smuggling
Some of
weed
us,
from one
yeah,
part of the
yes.
country, yes.
We're all in the studio, and Bill I had no idea it was coming. He takes it out and tells the story and hands it over to Carol. It was just like, smell this. Look at how good
It's amazing.
this is.
It smelled amazing?
No, the experience was amazing. It smelled quite pungent.
It was like he opened it up and then immediately it smelled like the teacher's lounge. It was so intense.
I should have gone to your school. Dang.
That's what where did you go to school
Yeah.
that the teacher's lounge smelled like weed?
If I was a teacher, I'd have to get high in the teacher's
No, but you said it like it actually happened.
No, your teachers didn't get high?
No.
In the teacher's lounge?
Am I the only one here?
No, what they did is they went. So we had like lunch off campus.
Mm-hmm.
So you like open lunch basically.
Oh,
so
okay.
everybody would like leave school and walk across the street and do whatever they were going to do. I never saw teachers there. The rumor was always that they were headed down Wisconsin Avenue to the strip joints on the edge of Georgetown. That my high school teachers. We are going to have to come back in a minute with Carolyn Fitter. On that note, when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about politics at the state and federal levels. I'm John Allen for Bill Press. We'll see you soon.
Can't catch the entire show? Listen to BP in 3, where we turn 3 hours into 3 minutes. Find it every day at BP Show on Twitter or at BillPressShow.com.
taught him how to hit a baseball.
Just like that. Say hi!
How to hit a receiver. The strike zone. The net. You taught him how to hit the upper corner. You even taught him how to hit the open man. But how much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit?
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
Your place to talk about the 2016 election. This is the Bill Press Show.
I'm John Allen, sitting in for Bill Press on this Friday, April 15th, Emancipation Day.
It is.
Indeed.
Not tax day. Apparently.
Typically it's tax day, but tax day happens on the 18th this year.
You learn something every tax day from Peter Ogburn.
Look, if there's any factual reason for me to procrastinate, I'm your guy, right? I'll find it and let you know. So you've got a few more extra days to do your taxes.
Message to Bernie and Jane Sanders.
That's right.
You've got a few more days to get the taxes in. He promised he was going to bring them out today, but maybe he's got till Monday to do that. I felt like he kind of threw Jane Sanders under the bus in the debate. He said he was asked for his tax returns. He said Jane handles that. Did that feel like I don't know.
Jane does our taxes. We've been a little bit busy lately. You'll excuse us.
All right.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, like, honestly, my wife is the person in my family who is responsible for making sure the taxes get paid. And if we were to fail to do that, or if we were unable to produce records, I wouldn't be like, it's her fault. I mean, because to be fair, she's doing all that work, and she's been doing that work for a number of years in my house. And I feel like if she wasn't able to do it, I had contributed almost nothing to the process other than potentially the money that I make from various forms of employment and the $1 million an episode I get for filling in on the Bill Press Show. Nice. Peter, you got a good cut of that, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, sure, right. As the Supreme Leader. Yeah, totally.
Supreme Leader? You've changed from Supreme Allied Commander to Supreme Leader? You're now an Iranian dunk tanker?
I'm stepping myself up there. Yeah, promotions, man.
I can't even remember the Supreme Leader's name right. It's Ayatollah something. I was going to give you an Ahmadinejad before, but he was just president. He wasn't the Supreme Leader. So, Carolyn, I think it must be hard when you're making the case to Democrats in a presidential year that they should be focused on state legislative races. What is the pitch to donors, other supporters, people who be activists to say, hey, you should be focused on this either in addition to that or maybe even instead of that?
Well, the presidency is obviously crucial, but you don't have to look any further than North Carolina to point out why this is so important in the near term, and then Congress to point out why it's so important in the long term to invest in state legislatures. Democrats need to have more influence in the redistricting process in order to make Democrats truly competitive in Congress for the next decade. But in the short term, we have like HB2 in North Carolina, which passed because Republicans control both of those.
You're talking
chambers.
specifically about this bathroom bill.
Yes.
Because I thought for a moment you were talking about the entire state of North Carolina. You're like, look at North Carolina, and I was like, we can't get rid of them.
It's a fine state.
I love North Carolina. My wife's family is from North Carolina, and she worked for a North Carolina senator.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Kay Hagan, before you think it was Jesse Helms. It was not Jesse Helms. So SB2, what's going to be the fallout of that, do you think, in the elections? Is that something that's going to play poorly for the governor and Republicans in the legislature, or is that something that might play well for them?
It's going to play poorly. It'll play well among their base, who are going to come out and vote for them anyway. But in terms of your average North Carolinian, it's already playing very poorly. And sadly, it's not because of the civil rights issue attached to it, which, I think it should be because that's very important. But this is just making their state look so bad, and it's costing their state a lot of money in terms of revenue from entertainers who are not going there, businesses who are staying out of the state, and just general lack of tourism from other states that have prohibited official travel.
And that's always been the case.
I looked at just the Bruce Springsteen concert, right, and the amount of money that was lost in the workers, the ticket sales, all that stuff, and it was staggering. It was a huge number.
Turns out he was born to run. Sorry, it had to be said.
You're not sorry. You're not sorry.
I'm
not sorry at all.
Not sorry. But this is the way that things happen with civil rights over time. Usually it's when the business community gets invested in not looking bad and not losing customers, and that things change. That's a big piece of it historically. So we will be back momentarily. We got to get out of here. See you on the other side of this break. You'll be with us for another minute, I believe. It'll be very quick, so I'll ask a question that's hard to answer quickly.
Good
I'm John Allen, sitting in for Bill Press with Carolyn Fiddler here. Democrat. We'll be right back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Calls me googly eyes.
You know you're beautiful, right? You know that?
Even you're beautiful. I got bullied for wearing glasses. Share if you're against bullying.
We put it out there, just took off. 3 million people have shared this post. Don't let bullies get you down. I stand with you. My whole family's wearing glasses. I wear glasses and I'm proud.
I even have the army on my team.
All the kind comments brought my child joy. I don't feel thank you is enough.
Thanks.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
This is the Bill Press Show.
We got to get that intro, outro music on Spotify.
Yeah?
Yeah. I'm John Allen for Bill Press, sitting in for Bill Press, screaming and yelling in the way that Carolyn Fiddler, Democratic strategist, has blown back toward the studio over there, toward the glass enclosed nerve center, borrowing that from another radio show. Quick question for you, Carolyn, before we have to let you go because you probably have other interesting things to do today. Donald Trump, Ted Cruz, the top of the Republican ticket. What does that mean for your down ballot races in state legislatures? Is there any effect?
Definitely. In fact, the Speaker of the Wisconsin Assembly said not too long ago that he is actually worried about the electability of his members if Ted Cruz or Donald Trump were at the top of the ticket. He was endorsing Rubio back then, but this is going to be a good fall for Democratic candidates down ballot, no question.
Thank you so much, Carolyn Fiddler. We'll be right back.
Bill Press Show.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Calls me googly eyes.
You know you're beautiful, right? You know that?
Even you are beautiful. I got bullied for wearing glasses. Share if you're against bullying.
We put it out there, just took off. 3 million people have shared this post. Don't let bullies get you down. I stand with you. The whole family's wearing glasses. I wear glasses and I'm proud.
I even have the army on my team.
All the kind comments brought my child joy. I don't feel thank you is enough.
Thanks.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where the ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
I wanted to find a bank with a purpose. I wanted to find a place that would take my money and not use it to cause the financial crisis, but to fix the financial crisis and to help end income inequality.
The people that we employ are usually clients right off the streets. They don't have an account, but Amalgamated is willing to get that started for them.
Their reputation supporting the working man, I think, speaks for itself. This is a bank that cares for their customers, and I appreciate that.
We were able to access a construction loan through the bank's programs, and that loan has helped us house 28 families in the community.
Amalgamated is a bank that was started for and about working people.
Many of our customers have a deep commitment to advocating for social and economic justice. We share that commitment, and we're not afraid to stand up and say that we need to change some of the way that the country does business.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
The most important issue on this planet right now is to protect and conserve biodiversity in the world's oceans. And I don't think people realize just how intimate our connection is with the oceans themselves. Not only do they provide the very foundation of life and control our weather, but life just simply could not exist without a healthy ocean. The real problem, though, is apathy. It's all out of sight, it's all out of mind, and people don't even think about it. But it doesn't matter whether you live in Peoria or on the coast. The fact is, whatever happens in the ocean affects all life forms on the planet Earth. If the oceans die, then civilization collapses. We all die. We cannot live on this planet without the oceans. This is, in fact, not the planet Earth. It's the planet ocean, but because we're a land-dwelling species, we refer to it as Earth. But it is the planet ocean, and the oceans are the heart and the foundation of all life on the planet.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
To get in the way before it happens.
To get a friend home safe.
And to not blame the victim.
It's on us.
To look out for each other.
To not look the other way.
It's on us to stand up.
To step in.
To take responsibility.
It's on us, all of us,
to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
I'm John Allen, sitting in for Bill Press on this Friday, April 15th, tax day, Amy Parnes' birthday. I say that because we've got in studio Daniel Lippman, who works on Playbook, which in Washington, D.C. at Politico, Playbook is the place where the birthdays exist. Everybody gets wished their happy birthday. It's kind of a big thing. It makes me happy when my birthday's in there, my wife's birthday's in there, my kids' birthdays get in there. Daniel works on Playbook and does a great many other things for Politico, my former colleague at Politico, and somebody I've known at least electronically for 5 or 6 years probably.
Yeah.
So thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
I've got some public service announcements. In case anybody was wondering, Peter Ogburn has had a promotion.
It's true.
When he came in this morning, he was executive producer of the Bill Press Show, and over time he became the Supreme Allied Commander of the Bill Press Show. And
how did that happen?
And well, I started using it, and then he promoted himself to Supreme Leader. And we will at some point be denuclearizing Peter.
Come take the title from me. I dare you.
Really? You want me to come through the glass? You want me to come through the glass?
Actually,
I'll come through the glass.
I do not want that.
You know what? I'm going to throw my Shake Shack chicken sandwich, what's left of it. I ate the Shake Shack chicken sandwich that they dropped off.
I'd throw mine at yours, at you, but I've already eaten mine.
Then please don't throw it.
So
there are other sandwiches.
What's a better title, guest host of the Bill Press Show or Supreme Allied Commander, Peter?
Without a doubt, Supreme Allied Commander. Let's be clear.
In addition to the Supreme Allied Commander that we have back there, Peter Ogburn, also Ray Rogers playing Gwen Stefani, screening your phone calls. Speaking of which, make some phone calls. Talk to us about the debate. 1-866-55-PRESS. 1-866-557-7377. You can also, if you want, call up and ask me to do a Save the Children commercial or anything else that might require me to read out a phone number. We are tweeting at Bill Press Show, at BP Show. You can watch us live on Free Speech TV and TawkrTV. Free Speech is seen on DirecTV and Dish. Talker is youtube.com/TawkrTV. And before I forget, Monty Kanzler doing the video operation for us. So that's the set today. Jamie Benson is out. Bill Press is out. We think that they may have absconded to Northern California for a wine tasting, or maybe Europe for a wine tasting. Yeah. Peter,
yeah.
Where do you think they are?
I think that wine tasting together is probably a safe bet. Yeah.
Where's the wine cellar in this studio?
Oh, any place is a wine cellar if you try hard enough.
I've actually had alcohol on this show before.
John is in the Bill Press Show guest Hall of Fame because you were here for our 10th anniversary show where we got hammered on air, and John had a screwdriver with us. We had a nice bottle of vodka someone had given us. We were making screwdrivers.
I would admit, and if you're going to get hammered, you should have the alcoholic screwdriver rather than playing around with actual screwdriver.
That's true.
That's a public service announcement. Okay, so Peter, we're going to get to talking with Daniel Lippman about last night's debate and Ted Cruz on late night television. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Yes, indeed. Just a couple of other stories making news. Do you know what ambergris is? Ambergris?
That doesn't make it. No.
Okay.
Daniel, do you know?
I don't.
All right, I'm going to tell you what it is. It is indigestible remnants of a sperm whale's meals that it hasn't digested. Follow me here.
Wait. Please never use those words in any order, much less that order.
But here's the thing,
I prefer lobster.
Here's the thing, though. It's worth a lot of money. These sperm whales, they eat these squids. There's parts that they can't digest, so then they vomit them up into a ball. But they're worth a lot of money. These things go into perfumes.
Wow.
And they're like very, very valuable. So there was a nice couple who was out.
Because you're saying a sperm whale's intestines smell good? What's the?
Well, it's the thing that they eat. It makes these perfumes. It's an ingredient that makes these perfumes smell good.
I look forward to the whale watching portion of the show.
So this nice couple was out for a walk, and all of a sudden they find this 3.5-pound chunk on the beach, which was the ambergris, right? 3.5-pound chunks. Turns out that is worth about $170,000. Is that crazy? That's how much a 3.5-pound chunk of this thing is worth. That's how sort of valuable it is.
It's like a Wall Street speech for Hillary Clinton.
It's like a third of a Wall Street speech for Hillary Clinton.
So this nice couple, they found this. They found this stuff. They're going to sell it. They're going to make a big payday just for walking on the beach. Isn't that cool?
Did they pick it up?
They had to. They had to take it somewhere.
3.5 pounds? Did they know what it was? Do we know?
Well, they saw that it was a large chunk of something. They called people. Marine
Normally you'd be like, I'm going to stay away from that.
Yeah, no, they
something.
thought that they might be onto something.
I'm going to Miami next week, so I will report back to see if I get any of these $170,000 remnants of digestible stuff.
Keep your eyes peeled.
All right, what else is on the ticker, Peter?
This is what it sounded like yesterday here in Washington, D.C. at Nationals Ballpark.
The kick, the pitch.
Swinging a long drive, right field, way back. It is number 100, and it is a grand slam for Bryce Harper. Harper missed first base. He goes back, he retouches, and then he'll touch them all.
That is Bryce Harper hitting his 100th career home run and his first grand slam. I will say, it is pretty great that this moment that is now immortalized in sports history will always be marred by the fact that he almost missed first base.
That's a clown move, bro.
It's a clown move, bro. Like when we look back in baseball history at what might be one of the greatest players of all time. Well, let's take a listen to how it sounded when he hit his 100th home run. Oh, look, he missed first base.
Peter, how would you have done that call?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't do sports a lot, but let me dust off the pipes and see if I can. All right. 2 outs on the pitch. It's Bryce Harper with a swing, and it's high up into the center field, and it is gone. First grand slam for Bryce Harper. 100th home run. The Nationals now lead 4-1. Just like that.
You've always wanted. I'm sorry, Daniel?
A+.
Thank you.
You've always wanted to do that. I
actually really have always wanted to do that, so that's nice.
And it's better than like goal.
Right. It's so much better than goal.
You finally your true calling in life.
I think so, yeah. All right, and so Marcus LePage is a gentleman on Twitter. We don't know, he's just an average guy, but he might have the greatest Twitter account of all time. I'll tell you why. He has sent 2 tweets in his life. 2 tweets. He sent one at 11:32 p.m., April 26, 2009. And the tweet just said, "Going to sleep." He just tweeted the other day at 6:49, 7 years later, that just said, "F, I slept in." It's the only 2 tweets he has on his account. Those are the only 2. It might be the greatest 2-tweet account of all time. That's it. I just like that.
Okay. You don't need to defend it. It didn't take up that. It didn't take up that much time of anybody's morning, really. No, I'm just kidding. That's wonderful. I can't believe he didn't say like I just woke up. Or does he have any followers? Do we know?
Well, he's got a bunch now.
Yeah.
And this tweet is
including one Peter Ogburn.
This tweet has been retweeted, both of them, about 56,000 times now.
Wow. All right, Daniel. Democratic debate last night. What's the takeaway?
The takeaway is that I think we want more brawls in Brooklyn. I think what's interesting about the debate was how fierce it was and how it seems like Sanders and Clinton. I was reading a piece this morning about how exhausting the campaign has been. You know, they've been campaigning nonstop for about a year. It was a 1-year anniversary of Hillary's announcement, and they're kind of getting on their nerves, and so they're not. It's really how long this goes on with this fierce rhetoric that could turn off a lot of Bernie supporters if Hillary is a nominee. Come the convention.
Did you think there was a clear winner or loser last night?
Well, if you were just polling the audience, you would find that Bernie was the clear winner because they were booing Hillary at some points. Any time Bernie was making a strong statement against Hillary, they would give him lots of applause. And so if you're going by that metric, then you would say Bernie was the winner. But in terms of there weren't any major gaffes, by either party. And, Hillary was acclaimed for being kind of this, she has a good steely nature. You've written about her. And so she's really calm under fire. And so she does best when her back is against the wall. And so this is kind of her time to shine, given that she's getting all these attacks.
It's a tremendous contrast in style. I think that, earlier on there was an effort by her to, if not match his pitch, to show some energy. Like, he's got this speaking style down pat. My father likes to compare it to the '60s radicals and the Students for Democratic Society. He's like, talks just like those guys. And by the way, it's with my dad. It's a positive. My dad,
who's your dad supporting?
I won't say for him. It's a ballot, a private thing for him. But suffice it to say, it's something that he recognizes from his youth, and I think that she has chosen to do contrast now instead. There's less volume from her. She's still, a little loud sometimes, but I think she's trying to do, I'm going to contrast and be calm. And as I'm trying to portray his policies as out there, I'm also going to give a visual and audio contrast.
And he's still doing the big rallies. He did a big speech, I think, in Washington Square Park a couple nights ago. And what's funny about that is that he had thousands of supporters, but he may have bragged too much because the Clinton campaign pushed back and said, actually, I don't think there was as many as he claimed. And
27,000 people
crammed into a park.
Yeah.
And so, he's not as bad as Donald Trump when he's talking about his rallies and the crowd sizes.
I mean, everybody always overestimates crowd size. I've been at events before, and in the old days, reporters were taught to be able to do crowd estimates. Not like for say the March on Washington, but smaller sizes. You could do some basic math and get some idea. I don't think they teach that in journalism.
I haven't learned that. So
yeah,
I'm still waiting for my lesson.
But every time you write as a reporter that there was some crowd size, there will be somebody who challenges you with aerial photos.
What's funny is that during the Jeb Bush campaign, rest in peace, we would get constant emails, and they would be bragging about how they got a number of people to their events, and it got to the point where it seemed like that the fact that they were talking about that was one of their major selling points in terms of estimating how their events were going. That was a clear indication that there wasn't much else going for them. Because when you're reduced to saying, Jeb got a few hundred supporters, that's better than the one person who once showed up to a Martin O'Malley event in Iowa. But it is still, it's one of your last things in the reserve. It's like, that is not a winning strategy to just talk about, because there's 315 million Americans in the country, and so you can get anyone to attend one of your events.
We are going to go now, because we're talking about the New York primary, to a phone call. Somebody who got through Ray Rogers' screening process. This is Mim in Stony Brook, New York. Mim, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Thanks a lot. I listened last night. I was so depressed. I just don't think it accomplished anything. The only people that won were the audience. And I couldn't tell at times if they were booing or cheering. And I couldn't tell who they were booing for or cheering for. And I wish they would stop having debates. I really do. Hillary was snarky. I thought Bernie was frantic. I don't know. What are they doing?
Mim, are you planning to vote in the Democratic primary in New York?
Of course, 3 times if I can.
Which candidate will you vote for 3 times, or will you split those?
Bernie.
All right, so
We're a big Bernie household. My grandchildren live in Vermont. They're Bernie supporters. My granddaughter cast her first vote in the primary for Bernie.
But you were turned off by what you saw last night.
I really was, by both of them.
Will you be a Democratic voter in the general election, whether or not Bernie wins the nomination?
Of course. My first vote was when I was in college, and I was class of 54, so you go 54.
You sound much younger on the radio, on the phone.
I'm 84.
Wow.
But I feel like I'm 7. And the thing is,
You and Bernie.
pardon?
I said you and Bernie both feel younger than your years.
It has nothing to do with it. And by the way, Peter, ambergris was used to make perfume.
That's what I said.
Oh, I didn't hear you. You have to
yeah.
read your Moby Dick.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll read more Moby Dick, I guess. I did
And
say
one
it's a
last
key
thing,
ingredient in
Peter.
perfume.
For you, on Netflix, there's a show called Heart of Dixie
Okay.
that takes place in Alabama. It's a little goofy, but I kept thinking about you.
Well, if it happened in Alabama, it's got to be a little goofy. But those are my people, though, ma'am. I'm glad you thought
I
of
think
me.
about Peter every time I hear Moby Dick.
Well,
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thanks, loads. Tell
Thank
me
you.
how it's going to turn out, please. I can't take any more of it.
Just go on vacation for a couple months, come back. Things will be wrapped up.
The betting markets have 89% that Hillary is going to win the nomination, which is one data point that, I'm sure the Clinton campaign is happy that they're still on that side.
And on that note, we will be back with Daniel Lippman momentarily. I'm John Allen, sitting in for Bill Press on his show, The Bill Press Show. We'll be right back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
You taught him how to hit a baseball.
Just like that. Say hi!
How to hit a receiver. The strike zone. The net. You taught him how to hit the upper corner. You even taught him how to hit the open man. But how much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit?
Calls me googly eyes.
You know you're beautiful, right? You know that?
Even you are beautiful. I got bullied for wearing glasses. Share if you're against bullying.
We put it out there, just took off. 3 million people have shared this post. Don't let bullies get you down. I stand with you. The whole family's wearing glasses. I wear glasses and I'm proud.
I even have the army on my team.
All the kind comments brought my child joy. I don't feel thank you is enough.
That's
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community. not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
This is the Bill Press Show.
I'm John Allen, sitting in for Bill Press. Back here with Daniel Lippman of Politico, formerly of George Washington University, and I'm going to guess formerly of the staff of The Hatchet.
I only wrote one story for The Hatchet, and they didn't use it, so I didn't write for them again.
What? That's a crazy story that you just told. All that talent sitting there unused.
I read the news instead during college.
Inefficient. So, Daniel, I want to ask you to do a Ted Cruz impression, but if you want to, you're welcome to. But Ted Cruz was on Jimmy Fallon last night, and you said that this was there was some amusing exchange there. What was that?
So what Fallon did was there was a 5-minute segment where he pretended to be Trump. So he was decked out with the hair and stuff, and his accent. And there was a split screen, and he had a fake phone call with a real Ted Cruz. And so one of the funny lines he said was, are you watching the Democratic debate? And Cruz said, nope, I'm watching The Princess Bride for the 843rd time, which is, one of Ted's favorite films, actually.
It's a wonderful film. Carrie Elways and Billy Crystal.
Andre the Giant.
Robin Wright, before she was Robin Wright Penn. Some good people.
And she also... Cruz is actually pretty funny on, in these shows. He's smart. He's very intelligent. And so that humor really, he can tap that.
Do you have a one-sentence Ted Cruz impression? We got about 10 seconds here.
I can do the Lion Ted Cruz.
Lion Ted Cruz?
Lion Ted Cruz.
If Ted Cruz got on the ballot, Lion Ted Cruz, if he was on Donald Trump's ballot, it would be Lion Lion Ted Cruz, like that. We'll be right back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
The most important issue on this planet right now is to protect and conserve biodiversity in the world's oceans. And I don't think people realize just how intimate our connection is with the oceans themselves. Not only do they provide the very foundation of life and control our weather, but life just simply could not exist without a healthy ocean. The real problem, though, is apathy. It's all out of sight. It's all out of mind, and people don't even think about it. But it doesn't matter whether you live in Peoria or on the coast. The fact is, whatever happens in the ocean affects all life forms on the planet Earth. If the oceans die, then civilization collapses. We all die. We cannot live on this planet without the oceans. This is, in fact, not the planet Earth. It's the planet ocean, but because we're a land-dwelling species, we refer to it as Earth. But it is the planet ocean, and the oceans are the heart and the foundation of all life on the planet.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land. only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
Enough.
Enough. Enough.
Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday.
It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 This is the Bill Press Show.
You may have noticed already that I am not Bill Press. I'm John Allen, sitting in for Bill Press. And the reason that I'm sitting in for Bill Press is something that Peter Ogburn will tell you about. It does have something to do with a wonderful part of our country.
Yeah.
Asheville, North Carolina, and a great book.
You'll have a very hard time finding someone who loves Asheville, North Carolina more than Bill Press. And he's there tonight to sign his book, Buyer's Remorse. Signing it at Avenue M on Merriman Avenue. It's tonight, this evening, 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. It don't cost nothing. You could go, you could hear Bill talk, you could get your copy of a book, have him sign it.
And afterward, there's going to be a drum circle. He may or may not be involved in that drum circle, but there will be a drum circle.
There's always a drum circle.
There's always a drum circle. And also, if you're into folk music, I'm sure that you can stop into any one of the bars and restaurants in Asheville tonight
to hear
some folk music.
Phenomenal breweries in Asheville. There's plenty of craft beer. When we went to Asheville a couple years ago, I actually went with Bill, and we went to this event that someone was putting on there, and they had the tubs of beer, and I just grabbed one. It was like a Bud Light or something. And this guy, this listener to the show, he came over, he goes, I cannot let you drink that, because if they see you drinking that here, they're going to freak out. You have got to go get a craft beer. And
isn't it ironic that you go out into America, into real America, and they don't want you to drink
I was judged
the beer that you would normally associate it with real America?
That's right. No, you got to get a craft beer.
Now you got to go craft beer.
You got to go get a craft beer. That's it.
I think some economies in the United States are based entirely on the vig between your craft beer and what's it's not a vig, but like the delta between your craft beer cost and your Budweiser or Miller or your Schaefer's, the one beer you want when you're having more than one. Can we get paid for that advertisement? So our next guest, our last guest, I hope our best guest.
Here we go.
Greg Giroux from Bloomberg. We're going to take a call in a minute from Matt from Minneapolis, who's been holding on the line patiently. But I am sure that during that conversation about Asheville, North Carolina, Greg Giroux was thinking, because I've known him for a while now, thinking about something he knows about Asheville, North Carolina, and politics. Greg, you must have some some good trivia about Asheville, North Carolina, some piece of information that would be interesting to listeners.
Well, great to be here. Thanks for the invitation. When I first think of Asheville, of course, I first think of the Biltmore, but I also immediately thought of Heath Shuler, the former congressman from North Carolina, the former star at the University of Tennessee, and, of course, at one time a Washington Redskin.
And so that district changed?
It did, and when the Republicans redrew the districts recently, they Asheville being a kind of a Democratic liberal area in a sea of Republican red in western North Carolina, they removed that from what was then the 11th district, the far western district that Shuler had, basically to absorb it in a more Republican district, to make the 11th district more Republican-leaning. That's now held by Congressman Mark Meadows.
So Asheville, known as the San Francisco of North Carolina, a liberal bastion in the middle of, what was a red state, now a competitive state, but a liberal bastion in the middle of the Republican part of North Carolina, now represented by a Republican, Mark Meadows, who pushed the effort to get rid of John Boehner in the House.
That's right. He's a member of what's known as the Freedom Caucus, a group of about 36 strongly conservative House members who have been at loggerheads with the leadership, to make that an understatement.
We're going to talk a little bit about the presidential in a few minutes with Greg, but first, live from Minneapolis, we have Matt. Matt, how's it going today? What are you calling about?
Very good. I was going to talk about the debate last night, but now you got me thinking about beer.
They go well together.
I think we've done our job.
No, I just wanted to point out, I'm a 60-year-old guy. I voted my whole life, and I'm a liberal. And, I'm getting a little tired of voting for the best of the worst, settling for, the middle-of-the-road moderates. And we have a chance to vote for someone that has been honest his whole career. He's steadfast his whole career. And, there's a saying that I've always listened to, and it says, when you tell the truth, you don't have to remember your story. Well, Hillary last night, and Democracy Now! Has pointed out so many lies over the last couple weeks that Hillary's been saying. And one thing that was the worst last night was when Bernie laughed because he knew what she was going to say, and her campaign says, about gun control. Now, I know Bernie does not support the murders of all those children at Sandy Hook.
Well, nobody does.
Right. Well, but Hillary would make you think Bernie enjoyed that. And, I'd like to ask Hillary, does she think that, because Bernie didn't support gun companies, manufacturers being liable, should we go after GM and Ford every time somebody drives a car
into
a group of people?
We do, though, don't we?
No,
those companies get sued. Those companies get sued for defects.
Well, if they have faulty defects, but guns are legal in this country. Even though I'm against guns, they're legal. So when some wacko goes and shoots somebody, I do not think that they should go after the manufacturer. The gun wasn't, I think we have to do something politically to get rid of guns.
Matt, let me ask you a question. Did you think it was a big compromise towards centrism to nominate Barack Obama in 2008?
Yeah, I really did, because I knew he wasn't a liberal, and he campaigned. I went to a few of his campaigns in Minneapolis, and speeches, and he actually talked about not going after, supporting whistleblowers. And boy, he sure went after them once he became president. He's not a liberal, he's a moderate.
Fair enough. Thanks for the call, Matt. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you guys, but there's a lot of other examples, and Democracy Now! Tears her apart daily.
Okay, well, I'm sure folks can check that out on Democracy Now! Take care, Matt. Greg Giroux, let's talk a little bit about the upcoming New York primaries. You're a data guru. You understand the states better than anybody else and how they behave. What are you going to be watching for in the Democratic and Republican primaries in New York? What do you think you might be able to ascertain beyond whatever the headline numbers of who wins and loses?
Well, on the Republican side, the most important thing to do is to look at not only assuming Donald Trump maintains his lead in the Republican polls, does he get above 50% statewide? That's somewhat important. But most of the delegates in New York, most of the 95 delegates at stake in the Republican primary, are allocated at the congressional district level. So there are 27 districts in New York State. Maybe a little bit early for math this morning, but I'm going to give some anyway. 3 delegates per district, so for a total of 81. Now, that means that the district in the South Bronx, which is overwhelmingly Democratic, which has maybe 13,000 registered Republicans, elects 3 delegates. And then an upstate New York district with 175,000 registered Republicans also gets
Same value.
Same value. So what Donald Trump and what his opponents need to do is to make sure that not only to get the highest vote possible statewide, but to make sure, in Donald Trump's case, he's trying to get just above 50% in all of the 27 congressional districts. He needs to make sure his 50% and change is efficiently distributed throughout the state's congressional districts. So I'll be looking at how is he doing in that South Bronx district, and is it any different from how he's doing in Long Island or upstate New York?
And the Democrats do this differently, of course. They have their proportional allocation across congressional districts with more delegates available in districts that have higher performance for Democratic candidates in the past, right? So if you look at, I don't know what the New York City districts look like. You probably have a better idea, but I'll take one. Some of the states that I know. You'll have in Madison, Wisconsin, in that 2nd congressional district in Wisconsin, you'll have 11 Democratic delegates because it's a high-performing Democratic area. In the 4th district, I think it's 10. And then you get into rural districts that don't have a whole lot of Democratic voters. You might have 4 or 5 or 6 delegates. So the Democrats do it very differently. What are you going to be looking at in New York on the Democratic side from election night?
Well, the Democrats have more at-large statewide delegates at stake. So I'm going to be looking at not only the Clinton-Sanders percentages statewide, but as you mentioned, the district-by-district percentages as well. And as you note, the districts that have a larger aggregate Democratic turnout in the 2012 and the 2014 elections get slightly more district delegates. It's not a huge disparity among the districts, but it's still worth watching. And there's a lot of math to be done here. For example, if a congressional district in New York City has 7 delegates at stake, and a candidate wins 51% of the vote, that gets you 4 of the 7 delegates. You win that 4-3. But if you win 60% of the vote in that 7-delegate district, you're still do the multiplication, it's still going to be 4-3. So you want to make sure that just like in the Republican race, the Democrats want to make sure that their vote percentages are as high as possible, but that they're also as efficiently distributed across the districts, depending on how many delegates they elect.
It's fancy stuff.
Yeah.
What you've seen a bunch of different systems. We've all seen a bunch of different systems, but you pay pretty close attention to them. You've got a winner-take-all system for some Republican states. You've got the winner-take-most. You've got like New York, for example, where you win X percentage for the statewide total, and then you do it by congressional district with them evenly distributed. You've got the Democratic proportional allocation system. Is there a system that seems to make more sense to you, or is this just a matter of picking your poison in terms of systems that have some pros and some cons?
Yeah, I don't think there's a preference there. What I would say is that the delegate allocation systems you see kind of reflect a lot of the national party's kind of views. I mean, the Democrats sort of have a consistent system throughout all states, whereas the Republicans give a lot of power to the states to kind of choose what they want to do. And as you mentioned, some states like South Carolina and Florida, you just have to win a plurality of the delegates to win plurality of the vote to win all of the delegates. That really helped Donald Trump. Trump has actually complained about the delegate selection rules, but he's actually benefited by them by and large because he has won some of these winner-take-all states.
Shh! And don't tell him that.
And then in some other states like Pennsylvania, you vote for delegates directly on the ballot. That primary is coming up on April the 26th. And then in a couple of states, you have some unpledged delegates, like in Colorado, where Ted Cruz really showed his organizational muscle by winning all the delegates there against Trump.
And I think, Peter, are you still with me?
I am.
Are we going to head out here for a minute and come back?
Let's take a quick break. His name is John Allen. He's filling in for the Bill Press Show.
This is the Bill Press Show.
It occurred to me tonight, for the first time, that the long-winged insect that over and over again rams its body into the wood of my front door might not know what he's doing. He might not have a plan. Maybe that's just how he flies, and that is where the door is. And I remember you. The last time I saw you, a few weeks before we would graduate from high school, and a few days before you let a bullet dissolve on your tongue, dancing in a warehouse rave, sweat-drenched and strobe light battered, thrashing your arms back and thrusting them forward. The floor could get so bright and loud, we all slowed down to be more careful, but you kept dancing full sprint tornado, and sometimes you'd spin full weight into a wall and just spread your arms against it and sway back and forth like a lover reunited. This long-winged insect is not trying to get into the house. It doesn't know there is a house. Can't imagine a life beyond that door. All it can see is the light. You and I were both 17 when you died. And ever since then, I have envied you. How you are remembered for towering, unclaimed potential instead of living to look regret in the face. You didn't have to come home 3 weeks later and explain to your little brother why you took too much medicine. Your addiction is remembered as a tragedy, not a betrayal. Your suicide attempt became a suicide, not an unpaid hospital bill. And only tonight did it occur to me that maybe that night when you let your teeth touch metal, you might not have known what you were doing. You might not have had a plan. Maybe you had hit that door so many times you couldn't imagine it might let you through. I'm still ashamed to admit it, but I have always secretly believed you did it for me, that you wanted to show me that there is a way out of all of this. Not so that I would follow you, but so I would understand that every day that I am alive is a day that I choose to be alive. And when the music stops, you still get to keep on dancing. And when the light is so bright it blinds, you can dance with your eyes closed. And if in that dark you come up against a wall, you keep your arms out wide and you dance with the wall.
This is the Bill Press Show.
I'm John Allen, sitting in for Bill Press. Peter Ogburn, Supreme Allied Commander of the Dunk Tank, is executive producing.
John.
Monty Kanzler, video operating, and Ray Rogers has screened all of the awful, harassing phone calls that you have not been subjected to because she was able to prevent them from getting on the air. Ray Rogers, take a bow. Or don't take a bow. Say hello, wave. Can you wave into the Peter cam? She doesn't like being on TV.
Hates it.
All right, fair enough. She's hiding, but thank you, Ray, one way or the other. We are sitting here with Greg Giroux of Bloomberg, the man who taught me everything I know about political data and has forgotten more about political data than I will ever know.
You're too kind.
But it's true. It's true. I actually remember sitting with you in 2008 trying to figure out how the delegates were going to go in Pennsylvania in the Obama-Clinton race, and I learned all this delegate stuff from you, and many years earlier learned how to use an Excel spreadsheet from you, which is come in even more handy than knowing Pennsylvania's delegates.
Look how I changed the trajectory of your life, right?
Well, I sat next to you, and I did very well for sitting next to you. A lot of co-bylines that made me look good, so I appreciate that. So what's your sense when you look at numbers a lot, what's your sense of these two things, and you can take them in the order that you want, the possibility / likelihood that Donald Trump gets to 1,237 delegates before the Republican convention, and the possibility that Bernie Sanders finishes with more pledged delegates than Hillary Clinton?
Well, I'll take the second part first. I mean, because of the proportionality rules in the Democratic contest, it's going to be very, very difficult for Bernie Sanders to overtake Hillary Clinton in the pledged delegate totals. He's down by over 200. And he's just, I mean, he'd have to win, not only almost win out, but he'd have to win states pretty overwhelmingly. He didn't have the overwhelming wins that Hillary Clinton did in states like Florida and in Texas and in South Carolina and across the Deep South that allowed her to build this huge lead. I'm just not seeing where the states are that Sanders could win by huge margins that will enable him to net, more than 200 or whatever, how many delegates he's behind Secretary Clinton right now. As far as on the Republican side, it's going to be very, very difficult for Trump to get to 1,237. There are a lot of scenarios you can kind of game out. It depends on a lot of things. I mean, the New York primary coming up on the 19th. On a bad day, assuming Trump wins, if he wins with a plurality and he's below 50% in a lot of these districts, he could win somewhere around 60, 65 delegates in New York. But on a really good day, he could come close to sweeping all 95, and that difference of 30 or 35 goes a long way, toward determining how narrow or less narrow his path to 1,237 is. Other states to look out for: Indiana has a lot of delegates at stake at the statewide level. I'm not sure if that state's really set up more for Cruz or for Trump yet. That race really hasn't gelled in Indiana as much as in other states. And then California has 53 congressional districts, 3 delegates per district. That's basically 53 micro primaries. So there's a lot. It's long story short, Trump has it's going to be very, very difficult for him to get to 1237, but it really depends on how overwhelmingly he wins some of these next primaries.
And what's your fascination level with the potential for a contested Republican convention? High or low?
Oh, the chances of it?
No, I mean, this is like for someone like you, Christmas and Easter and whatever, your birthday all wrapped up in one, right?
Yeah, as a student of political history, you read about these conventions when really a lot of the action happened. We keep referring to the proverbial smoke-filled back rooms. I don't know if that many people smoke in the back rooms anymore, but still a contested
Peter
convention.
Ogburn smokes wherever.
wherever I find.
Okay, I stand corrected. But this is the sort of thing you read about in the history books about 103 ballots in 1924. We haven't had one of a multi-ballot convention since 1952 on the Republican side since 1948. To students of political history, it's something you're kind of curious about how it would play out, because for basically the last half century, with rare exception, the conventions have just been pro forma affairs.
And in 1948, the result of that convention was Dewey, who almost defeated Truman. Almost defeated Truman. We'll be back in a minute with Greg Giroux. Please stick with us. I'm John Allen, sitting in for Bill Press.
Can't catch the entire show? Listen to BP in 3, where we turn 3 hours into 3 minutes. Find it every day at BP Show on Twitter or at BillPressShow.com.
You taught him how to hit a baseball.
Just like that. Say hi!
How to hit a receiver. The strike zone. The net. You taught him how to hit the upper corner. You even taught him how to hit the open man. But how much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit?
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
This is the Bill Press Show.
I'm John Allen with Greg Giroux from Bloomberg. We got about 30 seconds, Greg. Tell me something interesting about national political conventions in history.
The multi-ballot conventions are always really interesting to follow. 1924, the Democratic one, as I mentioned, 103 ballots. 1880, James Garfield wins the Republican nomination after giving a great speech, and he's basically drafted. And in 1912, Speaker Champ Clark had a majority of the vote, but because the Democrats had a supermajority, that allowed Woodrow Wilson to sneak in and win the nomination and become elected president.
Greg Giroux, font of useful information. Thank you for joining us on the Bill Press Show. I'm John Allen, who sat in for Bill Press. Thank you to Peter Ogburn, the executive producer, Ray Rogers, the call screener, Monty Kanzler, the video operator, and all you who listen and watch.
This is the Bill Press Show.